back to the program, and we switch gears now to politics as we dig deeper into the purported suspension of the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress and former governor of Kano State, Alhaji Abdullahi Ganduje, and what seems to be the counter-suspension of those who suspended him. Some describe it as a moral and political burden on the leadership of the All Progressives Congress nationally. Joining us to look at this now is Mr. Wangida Isa, a legal practitioner who will join us shortly. But really, it's an interesting one to look at when we look at the many implications of this suspension stemming really from the alleged bribery allegation that was leveled against the governor from the time of the national leader rather of the party from the time that he was governor of Kano State. And what are the implications of this for the leadership of the All Progressives Congress? Some are asking that the president step into the matter to avert, a crisis really for Kano State. And we're looking at this and to also ask who are the actors involved. Some are saying that, they have been sponsored by the NNPP in Kano State. So really, there are myriad issues, to examine as far as this suspension is concerned.
So there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this issue. The worry for the political players is that we've seen this play out before. It starts like, quote unquote, a joke, and then it becomes a reality. So we can go back to the time of Adams Oshomole. It started like, okay, can he be suspended from a ward? But before we knew, Senator Adams Oshomole, now senator, was no longer the national chairman of the party. The same thing with Iyorchia Ayub, the PDP, former PDP national chairman. The same thing started. He said, oh, he cannot be removed from his ward. He's a national, but at the end of the day, he was gone. Because the ward is actually the real, the fundamental organ of the party. That's where you are known as a member of the party, not at the national level. We can even go back to Uche Secondus of the PDP as well.
Right.
So we can keep going back as much as possible. Now, this has come forward. This has happened. But if you know the backstory, the fact that the NNPP government has started a probe and instituted a shooting court about the issue of probing his predecessor, I'm talking about Abba Yusuf, the governor, probing Abdullahi Ganduje, especially that controversial alleged bribery, $200 that we saw those videos that was quite controversial, plus other issues. I had a conversation with the chief press secretary of the governor, and some of the things they are saying is the fact that they want to rein in on some of the past leader to get the Commonwealth of the people back, allegedly that he took. So that is where this ward executive are benchmarking their decision. But the APC has also come out in the state to say, we don't even know these guys. They said there were 2 members of the party that were there that have now been suspended, but the people who led, I think Wanjo and the other gentleman, they said they know him, but there is not a member of the party in that ward. So it's a convoluted issue sometimes to understand these politicians.
It is, Bukola.
And then there's a court judgment also, that ruled that the governor cannot be tried in Kano State because it's a federal offense. But it's instructive, when you look deeply about how the court has ruled. The court hasn't ruled that he cannot be tried because there is evidence, that was found online at that time. But let's take this conversation now to our guest, Mr. Wangida Isa, who is a legal practitioner, who joins us now on the program. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Isa. We're wondering where you are in all of this. From what perspective do you view it when you consider how the court ruled? Of course, when you also consider the politics in Kano State, is this the voice of is it the voice of Esau now and the hand of Jacob that is playing out in all of this? Or are the allegations valid enough such that it's a moral burden on the leadership of the APC, as some choose to view it?
Well, good morning, my sister. Good morning, viewers.
Yes, go ahead. Did you get the questions?
Yeah, I do. First of all, as a rider, I wish to state that I am waiting for the day that our politicians will be that honorable as they are deemed to be, because from the first day I saw the charges against the former governor, who is the ruling party's national chairman, I was waiting for him to actually honorably resign, because those charges are heavy allegations that ordinarily, as a former governor of Kano State, and also as a national chairman of the All Progressive Party, who ordinarily, we should take note that this is a party that is a ruling party. I expected him to resign. So this is like, it's been long overdue. But going back to your question as to the issue of the allegation and then the ruling of the Federal High Court Kano, I think it is very important to look at, the contents or the wordings of the judgment of that court. There is nowhere the Federal High Court in Kano exonerated the former governor of Kano State, or refused or gave any order restraining the Kano State government from charging him for other allegations. When I went through the charges, I discovered that there are other charges that ordinarily were not brought up before the Federal High Court, and then the Kano State Anti-Corruption have, the jurisdiction to try him on those charges. And then even on the issue of the charges of the dollar, the ruling of the Federal High Court was very clear that this particular case, it is a case that should be tried at the Federal High Court. Okay, that is to say, it is a federal offense, which, in any case, that does not mean that this man has been exonerated. And then the Kano State Anti-Corruption coming up forward with other charges, that has to do with, corruption charges, allegations of, converting public properties to his personal properties or to his family and the rest. I think that they are heavy charges that ordinarily an honorable person of his caliber and should have ordinarily resigned.
Right. So just to be clear, you are particular about the office, the individual, but what about this process we're seeing, the two groups that seem to be at loggerheads? We need to understand your position on that, because the ward executives say the first group that suspended him are not legitimate, that if only two of them are members of a party and the two have been suspended. So yes, you can talk about those things, but let's talk about this process as well. Which for you is legitimate? The first group that suspended him, or the other group that says, no, he's not been suspended?
Well, I think I will go with the first group, and my reason is very clear. And if you look at Article 21 of the APC Constitution, it gave the powers, the ward executives to receive a complaint, and when they receive such a complaint, they, on their own, can actually sit and then deliberate on it, and then come up with such a measures. If you look at Article 21, particularly at paragraph 9, Roman figure 9, you will see that based on the allegations, brought forward against the national chairman of APC, the ward, after receiving such a complaint from anybody from his polling unit, have the powers to sit and deliberate and then come up with such a measures. And then when I went through the procedures, I discovered that, of course, they have the jurisdiction to do that. And precedent have shown that Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje is not the first, national chairman to be removed from office, particularly from, his ward executives. We have seen what happened to the former APC chairman, now Senator Adams Oshomele. We have seen what happened to Secondos. So precedents have shown that, yes.
Pardon me, Mr. Issa, we understand that background, but so we can follow you step by step. So you say that you go with the first group that said they suspended him. So was the chairman, the ward chairman, was he in that group, or is he in that group?
Well, what matters is whether they form quorum.
No, I understand. I'm asking that is he in that group? Is he in that group?
It is not only the chairman that have the power.
You're preempting my question.
Is whether the number,
You're sort of preempting me. I just want to know, was he, I'm not adding anything, was the ward chairman there?
No, from the list I saw, the ward chairman was not part of it.
So
but
how
when
many
I went through, I saw their minutes.
Right. How many executives
there are 9,
were in that group?
There are 9 executives out of 25, which by the constitution of APC, they have formed 1/3 of the executives, and they have the powers to go ahead.
The challenge, so that we put everything in proper perspective, I had a conversation with the state's legal advisor yesterday. They are saying, which is why there's a little bit of a confusion, you are saying there are 9 that form a quorum based on the number 24 or so that can suspend anyone at that level who is a member of the party. But the local government is saying, from the conversation we had, is that only 2 people that were seated there were actually members, executive members of that particular ward, which is why they suspended just those 2 members. I wanted that to be in your response. What do you make of it?
Well, just as I said, from what I saw a list of 9 members, which ordinarily attached to the names, or, before each of their names, they have their designation. And until maybe the APC come up to say, or if it is proved beyond, the ordinary man's perspective, that these people are not actually executives, then of course they can come up with that. But what I'm saying is that from the document I saw, which I watched in this particular, in your own TV station, I saw 9 executives with their designations, and going by that, I'm going by the provisions of the APC constitution. If truly those 9, people that signed the paper, of course they have formed quorum, whether the chairman is there or not. I was privileged to see, to go through their minutes, where a particular, I think the assistant secretary moved for a motion that the legal advisor should chair the meeting in the absence of the chairman and the secretary. So if those 9 people are actually elected members, executive members of Ganduje ward, then what they do is actually right, is within the confines of the law.
So, from a legal mind, from your perspective as a legal practitioner, what do we make of this situation? Now, we saw that there were 9 persons. They appended their signature to that document. There was a minute. At the end of the day, the leadership of the party at the local government level is saying, just 2 members are members of our party. And for those 2 that were part of that decision-making, we've suspended them. So what happens to the decision that was made by, it's difficult to even describe the 9 now.
Well, I think it is very clear that, you see, if at the point of, the suspension, those 9 of them are actually executives of the ward, their suspension would not in any way affect the validity of the suspension, of Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. So what is before us now is whether or not the 9 of them are actually, executive members of the ward. Because for you to suspend somebody, at the point at which you suspend such a person, if he is acting legally as an executive member of the ward, whatever suspension, or, his suspension would not in any way affect the decision they must have reached, or, the decision they have taken prior to their own suspension. So the question is whether the remaining 7 are executives or not. I am not an APC member. I am not from, Ganduje ward. But just as I said, from the document I saw, from their designation which I saw, I believe that if they are truly the executive members of Ganduje ward, then all their decisions, is intact and is within the confinement of the law.
Okay, so whether or not they are from Ganduje ward, I wonder if you see the interference or a deliberate attempt by the NNPP in Kano State, to use this to destabilize the party. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, you were saying something earlier about how the court has not particularly ruled that the Kano State Anti-Corruption Commission cannot try the former governor. But really, I'd like you to speak to the laws of this, help us understand it legally. If indeed what was involved is the dollar currency, but it was a crime allegedly committed on Kano's soil, so why should it be a federal offense? Two in one there.
Okay, you know, as far as the Kano State Federal High Court judgment is concerned, if you look at the charges brought, you know, against the former governor, you will come to understand that only one of the charges has to do with the dollar issue. And the dollar issue, just as I rightly said, the court ruled that it is a federal offense. And then the matter, I think the complaint is already before the EFCC. The EFCC have done their investigation, which if my memory, you know, I know that there was a time where they said the report of the EFCC is ready. But what we are saying is that what happened to the other allegations, the other charges brought forward against the former governor, which by Section 22 of, you know, of the anti-corruption laws, the Kano State government have the right and the jurisdiction to charge the former governor against those allegations before the State High Court. And then on the issue of whether or not those party members have the right, I mean the executive have the right to suspend the former governor. If you look at the provision of Section 23, or Article 21 of the APC Constitution, and then particularly at paragraph 9, you will come to understand that this particular allegation or the charges which is brought forward against the former governor is enough reason for the ward executives to receive a complaint and act upon the complaint. It is not the duty of the state executive to interfere in this particular procedure, because the constitution of the APC have stipulated the procedure at which level can the state act, at which level can the local government act, and then at which level can the ward executive act. And based on this provision, it is the powers of the executive, of the ward executives to look at the complaint brought before them to actually act. And for me, what they did, according to the constitution of APC, is right. Because at this particular junction, it is not the powers of the state executive or the local government, but the powers of the ward executives. So it is the ward executives now that have the power to look at the complaint brought before them and then take the appropriate action, which I believe what they just did is right as far as the APC constitution is concerned.
I know a lot of people will wonder, what's the much ado now? I mean, there was a lot of time to talk about this, to take these cases up, and they would say not much was done up until now. So is this some sort of vendetta, what have you? And they wonder how this will trickle down to governance itself. So two groups at loggerheads. What do you see being the way forward, particularly because the NNPP at the state level is also in the mix here? So are you also considering the possibility that the NNPP, as said by the other group, that this is actually being orchestrated by the ruling party at the state level? And we all know the chemistry or the history between both former governors, the leader of the national chairman of the APC and the leader of the NNPP. So are you also factoring that into this whole scenario? And what will be a final resolution for you?
Well, I think actually I do not believe in that school of thought that, the NNPP are the ones orchestrating this particular this thing. I know that the NNPP being the ruling party in Kano State have the powers to charge the former governor, but I don't think they have the powers to interfere into the issues of the APC, because it has been held severally that intra-party issues you do not have any powers or whatsoever to go into it. So I know that, politically, yes, people could have that perception that it is the NNPP in Kano State that orchestrating this. But I do not believe to that school of thought. I just felt that, just as I rightly said, I actually thought immediately after the charges was brought to the public domain, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, being an honorable man, after serving Kano State for 8 good years, and then now being the national chairman of the ruling party, I think posterity, hold that he honorably resigned. step aside for the sake, of for respect that, that he is not just, an ordinary person, but a national chairman of a ruling party. I expected him to honorably resign, honestly, before now. And that is why I started by saying that this has this is long overdue. By now, this issue wouldn't have, been brought, to the public domain. He will have ordinarily resigned and allowed, himself go before the court and then clear his name. And then by then, I think he will have been more, he will have earned more respect. So I don't believe to the school of thought that, this is NNPP issue. No, NNPP by the laws have the right to, charge him before the court. Then he let him go and defend, the allegation before him. But not that NNPP will now go into APC to say, no, come on, suspend this man. If they wanted to do that, they would have done that since, because they have been in government for complete 1 year. So I don't believe to that school of thought, actually.
Mr. Issa, there's so many legs to this conversation. Some would also talk about how it is important for the APC to address it because of the impact on the political fortunes of the party in Kano State. And some will talk about, using this as an opportunity to address the political imbalance in, the north of the APC. And we look forward to seeing how the president will handle this. Speaking of, the former governor clearing his name, this is also another opportunity, perhaps an invitation to him or his political cronies, to speak up about this suspension, this alleged suspension, and of course, the allegations. Mr. Issa, I would like to thank you very much for coming on the program. Mr. Wangida Issa is a legal practitioner who joined us from Abuja studios. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you. Yes, it's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, he joined us from our Kano studio. Thank you so much. Now, up next, we touch on the softer side of things as we speak with that man who plans to make history by being the fastest man to travel around the continent and without flying. Stay with us. We'll be right back.